The winters in Boston are harsh. Gleaming under golden Christmas lights, I gazed out over the icy streets of Newbury from the large windows of my design studio. A little snow was falling, and even though it appeared to be chilly outside, I felt a weird warmth inside of me, a peaceful moment in the middle of December's chaos. I, Amelia West, have dedicated the last 10 years to building Studio Haven, my interior design company, from the foundation up. Although it hadn't been simple, I had at last arrived at a stage in my life where I could declare myself stable, respected in my industry, financially self-sufficient, and proud of the work one had produced. But there was a cost to success. My assistant, Martha, came into my office and said, "Amelia, I have the Crestwood Estate presentation materials." She was devoted, shrewd, and the closest thing to family I had in this place, and she had been with me for 5 years. "Thanks, Martha," I said with a smile as I handed her the packet. "I will review them today." One of Boston's wealthiest families held the exclusive vacation home known as the Crestwood Estate, which was a huge deal. Tomorrow's presentation would be a significant milestone for Studio Haven if it went well. I should have been thinking about it exclusively. However, there was another issue that was subtly bothering me. My birthday fell on the day after next. Naturally, I had not anticipated anything from my relatives. I had discovered that I shouldn't. Gerald, my father, operated a small insurance company in Phoenix. Then, there was my sister, Sabrina, the beloved kid, who sailed through life with the comfort of someone cushioned by the sacrifices of others. Linda, my mother, placed great emphasis on maintaining her social image, frequently appearing in neighborhood bulletins and hosting tea parties for her ladies' group. People still adore them despite their turbulent history and 2 divorces. I early discovered as a child that I was supposed to be the strong one, so I worked late nights and received scholarships to get through college. After that, I balanced day jobs with night classes in design. I achieved every inch of my accomplishment via hard work and isolation. In the meantime, Sabrina received a plethora of assistance, including private tutors, a costly university that she left midway through, and a succession of unsuccessful job applications. My parents, however, admired her. The dynamic changed as I started to establish myself in the design industry. Suddenly, I became the dependable oldest daughter, no longer the quiet one they ignored. Their requests for a little help from this person invariably resulted in temporary loans that were never repaid. My phone buzzed that afternoon while I was looking over project samples. It was an unfamiliar caller ID. "Amelia West is speaking," the warm, gravelly voice said. "Amelia, it's been a while. Uncle Ray is here." A startled smile formed on my lips. My mother's brother, Uncle Ray, lived by himself in a little Arizona town. He was a recluse at family gatherings after his wife died, often sitting in the corner and watching. I had always felt a gentle connection to him, even if we weren't close by design. "Uncle Ray, how are you?" "Yeah, still alive. I wanted to be the first to wish you a happy birthday since I heard it was approaching," you recalled. I murmured. "I sent a small item in the mail. It should arrive tomorrow." Tears were forming at the corners of my eyes. "Uncle Ray, thank you. You don't realize how much that means." He remarked, "Amelia, you've done well for yourself. I just wanted to let you know that you have my admiration. I had waited my entire life to hear those words from a member of my family, and never once from my parents." I sat quietly with the phone to my chest after the call ended. Uncle Ray has always seen me out of all of us. At family get-togethers, his eyes regarded me understandingly when others dismissed or disregarded my achievements. The snow was falling more heavily outside, and my phone called once more, this time from a number I knew, as I was about to return to my work. Though I was unaware of it at the time, the next voice I heard would trigger a life-altering event. I took a few moments to look at my screen before responding. It was Linda, my mother, whose name still made my chest tense when I saw it on my phone. "Amelia, happy birthday." Her voice was exceptionally bright as she chirped. "We've planned a small celebration for you because we wanted to do something special this year." I blinked. "You what?" She spoke in a champagne-light tone. "This Friday at 7 o'clock, we have a reservation at Lumiere, the French restaurant in Beacon Hill. We'll all be waiting for you there." "Lumiere?" I sat up upright. It was one of Boston's most upscale dining establishments. According to evaluations, the average supper costs more than $200 per person, not including wine. You reserved Lumiere? I asked, nearly giggling in shock. Don't exceptional days merit special treatment? You work so hard, she remarked casually. You're worthy. Well, and dress nicely. Ensure that you are wearing a beautiful outfit. It should showcase your accomplishments. The call terminated before I could say anything further. After a long moment of staring at the phone, I carefully put it down. There was something wrong with it. My birthday had never before elicited any kind of response from my family, not even a text or card. And now, a fancy meal at the most ostentatious restaurant in town? When Martha entered and gave me a fresh cup of coffee, I was still processing. She looked at me worriedly and remarked, "You look like you just saw a ghost." I answered hesitantly, not sure if I believed it myself. My mom just invited me to a birthday dinner. At Lumiere. Martha raised her eyebrows. Hold on, the Lumiere? That location is similar to. Pricey enough to earn a Michelin star. That's incredible. Aren't you ecstatic? I'm not sure, I said. This is something they have never done before. Usually, they totally forget my birthday. Martha scowled and carefully put down the coffee. People evolve, she said. Perhaps it's how they're trying to make things right. It might even be beneficial. Perhaps. Perhaps this was the year that things started to improve. Perhaps after years of being an afterthought, I was finally receiving recognition as someone worthy of honor. A glimmer of optimism appeared. After all, it was only a meal. What might go wrong? Friday night came sooner than I thought. Our team was ecstatic after the Crawford presentation went perfectly, and I left the office early, feeling remarkably light-footed. I had rewarded myself with a new, sophisticated, yet subtle pale blue silk dress. My hair was done, and I wore subtle yet elegant makeup. As I got out of the taxi and stood in front of Lumiere, the restaurant gleaming like a gem against the gray night, the winter bite of Boston bit my cheeks. The maître d' showed me to a quiet corner room where a crystal chandelier glistened above me. When I noticed Linda, Thomas, and Chloe already seated around a gorgeously arranged table, I gasped. A pail of silver held a bottle of pricey champagne. Amelia! More loving than she had shown me in years, Chloe sprang to her feet and embraced me. She appeared to be on the cover of a glossy lifestyle magazine because she was wearing a bright pink party dress. Dad kissed my face and waved me to a chair, saying, "Happy birthday, sweetheart." Mom pointed to the bubbling glasses and added, "We just opened the champagne." With her satin blouse and pearls matching flawlessly, she exuded royalty. "Cheers! To the prosperity of our family." Dad raised his drink and continued. I mustered a smile as we clinked glasses. I had the uncanny feeling that I had wandered into someone else's family meal. Everyone was quite happy, chatting away, complimenting my clothing, and asking me about my business. The menu included lobster bisque, foie gras, and truffle-laced amuse-bouche. Dad ordered cognac, which he sipped infrequently, while Chloe and Mom sampled wine after wine. I responded to their inquiries, told them about my most recent endeavors, and even laughed a little. Using a napkin to dab at her lips, Mom replied, "You're doing so well. We are so proud of you." Dad added, "Especially that Hamptons project. It was an entirely different experience." With sincere emotion rising in my chest, I nodded. Perhaps this was their actual method of communication. Perhaps they had evolved. I couldn't help but feel thankful when dessert, my favorite, Grand Marnier soufflé, arrived. "Thank you," I responded quietly, feeling touched. "What a fantastic birthday present this is." Mom grinned and cocked her head. Her champagne-glossed eyes sparkled. She added politely, "We ought to be thanking you." "I appreciate the treat." My smile wavered. Until they did, the words didn't make sense. A waitress came over and placed a folder made of black leather in front of me. "Your bill, ma'am." My heart stopped beating. For a long moment, I gazed at the bill, wondering if I had misinterpreted it. When I opened the folder, my hands shook a little more than $850, tip excluded. The folder contained a sumptuous spread of the best Lumiere had to offer, 2 bottles of vintage wine, and premium cognac. "Are you kidding me?" I asked in a low voice that was hardly steady. Dad laughed. Get moving, child. Now you are the one who has succeeded. For someone like you, this is pocket money. Swirling the last of her wine, Chloe nodded. It's not a huge concern. You frequently share the successes of your design firm on social media. We believe that this would be an excellent opportunity for you to return the favor. Mom covered me with her immaculately manicured hand. Amelia, you have our admiration. This was your opportunity to express some gratitude. I had a sense of stillness. I didn't spot any relatives when I glanced around the table at the people who had my name and blood. I witnessed a well-planned show. They weren't there to honor me. They had assembled to take advantage of me. I swallowed the lump growing in my throat. I nodded and replied quietly, I understand. Thanks for the clarification. I ignored the sting behind my eyes as I took out my card and made the payment. They continued to laugh and talk without pausing. Next month, Chloe proposed to have her birthday supper here. Mom praised the decor, and Dad raised his glass to more successful daughters. I got up slowly. Deep within me, something finally cracked quietly. I said in a flat, even voice, I would like you all to stop getting in touch with me. Oh, hurry up, Dad sneered. Amelia, it was only a joke. Stop being too touchy. A joke? I said it again. Creating a fake birthday party to force me to pay for it? Is that how you define family? Mom remarked, her smile turning to a snarl. We're your family. Isn't lending a hand to us instinctive? You have been doing incredibly well. Don't you have a duty to reciprocate? Despite the internal maelstrom, I spoke steadily as I gently shook my head. When I worked 2 jobs to pay for education, who assisted me? After working all day, who helped me study design at night? Everything was my own creation. I owe you nothing. Chloe gave an eye roll. Amelia, you're constantly focusing on yourself. Amelia, I've gone through 2 divorces. That was easy, don't you think? That's correct, Mom said. Chloe required assistance. We needed to set priorities. When I actually looked at them, I realized the reality that had always existed. I had always been a mere utility. I was the one who was held accountable. This person is known for their practical approach. Never choose the person you love. This is the final time, I muttered. Goodbye. I turned around and left. I didn't turn around. The chill they had left in my heart was greater than the bitterness of the Boston air. I shook my fingers and blocked all 3 of their numbers in the taxi ride home. I allowed the tears to fall freely as I gazed out the window. I'd spent so much time trying to win their affection and be a part of something that never really included me. However, I gave up attempting for the first time that evening. There was a small gift waiting by the door when I arrived at my apartment. I took it up and went inside, my hands still shaking. Uncle Ben sent it. I slowly opened it, thinking it would be a plain card, but what I found was an antique silver picture frame. It featured a faded photo of him and Aunt Linda, both of them softly grinning at the camera. Tucked behind the frame was a handwritten letter. To Amelia, genuine connection is more essential than money or recognition. You have always followed your path with love and honesty. Believe that, and keep going. You have my admiration. With affection, Uncle Ben. I sobbed as I held the frame to my chest. I wept for what I had lost, but also for what I had left, his silent encouragement and his unshakable faith in me. Even when the rest of my family hadn't noticed me, he had. Something changed when I lay in bed that night with the letter next to me. Not only was I lamenting my family's disintegration, but I was also starting to let go of the notion that I needed to make things right. My workplace line rang the following morning. By habit, I picked it up. Amelia Pierce is speaking. My father's harsh, accusing voice said, Amelia, what sort of mindset did you have last night? You've embarrassed your family. This embarrassment extended to the restaurant employees as well. I took a slow breath. Are you concerned about that? How did you appear to outsiders? He didn't answer right away. You weren't brought up this way by us. You wouldn't be where you are now without us. I sent out a sour laugh. Really? Perhaps you could then remind me of the precise aspect of my achievement that you believe you helped to create. Quiet. The silence was heavy and strained. I believed so, I muttered. Avoid making another call to this number. After hanging up, I gazed out the window. After that, I spent weeks immersed in my work. The project at Crawford Estate was a success. New customers flooded in. Everything appeared to be ideal on the surface. However, there were evenings when I would find myself thinking about them, and my chest would hurt, while the workplace was silent and the city lights flashed outside my window. I never once felt awful about leaving, though. A month or so later, my assistant Claire, her face white with shock, burst into the office with a magazine in her hand. "Amelia," she exclaimed, panting. "You must watch this." I raised my eyes from my drawings. "What is it?" She gave me a periodical for local socialites. The top page featured a picture of my mother, Helen, at a charity dinner, holding champagne and grinning broadly. Ivy stood next to her, just as radiant. Enlarged pictures of an opulent Hollywood residence that I had personally created 2 years prior were in Ivy's hands. The endeavor that helped build my firm's reputation was one of my largest early undertakings. The headline said, "Ivy Pierce's design talent, recognized, celebrates work on celebrity's home." I gazed in disbelief at the page. "That was your project," an irate Claire remarked. "Why is she claiming credit for it?" I was unable to respond. My heart was thumping and my mouth was dry. The floor seemed to have moved beneath me. I believed I had broken off contact. I believed that I had moved on. The phone called once again that afternoon. It was Uncle Ben this time. "Did you see the article?" Gently, he inquired. "Yes," I muttered. His voice was tight with rage as he replied, "They're claiming your work as IVEs. And from what I understand, Thomas and Helen are in favor of it." They were, of course. "They have always done so. Will you allow them to get away with it?" he inquired. "No," I muttered. This time, no. I got in touch with my lawyer a few days later. We wrote a formal letter of protest and mailed it straight to my family and the publication. Simultaneously, I had an exclusive interview with a reputable industry publication describing my process, career, and previous endeavors, including that house in Hollywood. I provided the client's email confirmations, sketches, and pictures to support everything. The following morning, the article went live. "My mother contacted the workplace by noon," Claire replied. "Miss Pierce is not in town," she stated with ease. That did not deter her. I got an email an hour later. The subject line was as simple as this: "Why are you doing this to us?" It had the exact message I had anticipated. "Amelia, why are you trying to hurt your family?" Ivy is devastated. She was finally getting recognition, and now you've humiliated her. Please take the article down. We're your family. I gazed at the letter, inhaled deeply, and then responded, "Mom, if telling the truth hurts the family, then maybe we need to rethink what kind of family we are. I'm not trying to hurt anyone. I'm protecting what I've built. No one will use me anymore." I sent it, and I felt free for the first time in years. It was 6 months later. I moved from Boston to New York City, giving up the streets I knew for new opportunities. Together, Claire and I created a new creative space location in Manhattan. Although it wasn't simple, the change felt freeing. There will be no more harmful commitments. It's time to stop being cautious. There should be ample space for growth and development. The conversion of an old Brooklyn warehouse into a bustling modern art gallery was our first significant project. Numerous trade journals published the work, and our clientele quickly expanded. I felt for the first time that I was thriving rather than just getting by. The front desk buzzed in one day as I was finishing up a client meeting. "There is a call for you, Miss Pierce." Mr. Benjamin Clark is the caller. My heart pounded with excitement. Uncle Ben. "Put him through," I murmured hastily, a grin already starting to appear. However, I didn't hear his voice when I responded. "Miss, this is Michael Cohen's Pierce. I'm the lawyer for Mr. Clark. I have some bad news, I'm afraid." I held on to my desk's edge. "What took place? I regret to notify you of Mr. Clark's passing last week. A heart attack occurred, calm while he slept. For an instant, everything was hazy. In my hand, the phone felt weighty. Uncle Ben gone? He designated you as both his primary heir and executor of his will," the attorney said tactfully. "What?" I muttered. I was unaware of the specifics of his life. He was a reclusive man who never sought publicity and had always lived simply in Arizona. I figured that he didn't have much money. However, he had always been silently keeping watch over me, and now, even in death, he was making one final attempt to reach out. Mr. Cohen stated, The funeral is the day after tomorrow, in Phoenix. I will forward the information to you. I hung up and looked out the window at the skyline of New York. I recalled his statement from our most recent conversation, life is short. Keep your focus on the important things. I had assumed that was a remark. It occurred to me now that perhaps it was farewell. 2 days later, I was standing in the brilliant Arizona sun inside a modest Phoenix church. There were many people in the church, including old coworkers, veterans, and neighbors. Although he had never made a show of it, Uncle Ben had been quietly adored by his neighborhood. I felt the grief grow as I listened to tales of his generosity, his quiet power, and how he had aided people without ever wanting credit. I saw Elena and my parents at the door. I had not seen them since that evening at the restaurant. My mom appeared pale and uncomfortable. My dad averted his eyes from me. Elena just had a worn-out appearance. During the service, we didn't communicate. Like strangers who had once known one another well, we sat on opposite ends of the room. We were all summoned to Mr. Cohen's office following the burial. With a somber tone, the attorney declared, "I will now read Mr. Benjamin Clark's final will and testament." As he unfolded the document, we sat silently. "My sole heir, Amelia Pierce, will inherit all of my assets, including stocks, real estate, and liquid funds," states Benjamin Clark. There was a beat of startled quiet. "What?" my dad blurted out. "That isn't feasible," my mom muttered. "He promised to leave us something as well." Elena's jaw hung open as she gazed. Calmly, Mr. Cohen went on, The estimated worth of Clark's estate is $2. $7 million! Startled, I blinked. I had no idea he was that wealthy. The attorney then switched on a screen. Uncle Ben's sweet and kind visage came into view, communicating to us straight from beyond. "Amelia," he said gently, "I've seen you develop into a strong, elegant woman. Regardless of what the other members of the family may think, you are trustworthy, diligent, and kind. I am aware of what transpired on your most recent birthday. That event marked the final turning point." His eyes were hard as he inhaled. "You are my biological family, Thomas, Margaret, and Elena. However, your treatment of Amelia has long disappointed me. You failed to recognize her worth. You took advantage of her. That is the rationale for my decision." The video came to an end. There was silence in the room. Suddenly, my mother got up and became enraged. "This is ridiculous. We are also his family. The will is legitimate under the law," Mr. Cohen said. "His motivations are obvious." Next, my father came over to me with a look that was familiar to me, a mix of manipulation and rage. "We need to talk, Amelia. The supper that evening was really a prank. Are you unable to pardon us?" I got up slowly. "I learned from you that family members support one another. However, Uncle Ben also imparted to me the value of love, respect, and support within a family." Without flinching, I met his eyes. It was the decisive moment. I said one final thing to them before I departed. For future artists who, like me, had to struggle for every chance, I'm utilizing the bequest to start a scholarship foundation. I will attach Uncle Ben's name to it. I will honor him in this way. Their expressions went cold. My mother started to speak, but I had already started to go. I started establishing the Benjamin Clark Art Scholarship Foundation back in New York. We've helped dozens of budding designers and artists in the 2 years since. Each success story is an homage to the man who had faith in me when others had lost trust. I stood in front of a group of researchers, contributors, and supporters during the foundation's second anniversary. I was surprised to see Elena among them. After the event, she came up to me with a new appearance, softer, more authentic. "I've lost contact with my parents," she said. "After you went, they began to rely on me. The experience broke me. However, working at a tiny shop and eventually handling things alone is challenging, but it feels sincere." Sincerity was something I hadn't seen in her eyes in years. She said, "I came to apologize, Amelia, for everything." After hesitating, I slowly nodded. "Forgiveness is difficult, Elena. However, I appreciate you expressing that." She gave me a little envelope as she turned to go. There was a little letter inside. The letter bore the handwriting of my mother. "I'm pleased for you, Amelia. I'm hoping you'll pardon us someday." I watched the sun set over the Hudson that evening while standing on my balcony in Manhattan. Anger no longer filled my emotions. Even though the wounds were still present, they no longer defined who I was. I had received more than just cash from Uncle Ben. He clarified things for me. He instilled in me a newfound sense of self-worth. It also serves as a valuable legacy to carry forward. After a moment of hesitation, I grabbed my phone and texted Elena a brief message. Would you like to have coffee tomorrow? There is no easy way to heal. However, it's possible that I've taken the first significant step, and I am aware that Uncle Ben is grinning no matter where he is.